Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Competition Archery Media.
My name is Hugo Lowe.
Hello, I'm Christina Percoli from San Marino.
Greetings, this is Jay Barsh from the 107 Club.
I'm Ryan, I'm with Anchor Point Archery in Goodyear, Arizona.
We are BBP Barebow! This is for the Barebow Project! Go Barebow!
This is
the Barebow Project!
And this is the Barebow Project.
And this is the Barebow Project.
And you're watching the Barebow Project.
And you're watching the Barebow Project.
I'm Grayson Partlow, and this is the Barebow Project. I think that was an 8.
Welcome back to the Barebow Project. Hey, it's been a while since I've said that. I am recording this episode instead of doing a live one because I'm having issues with Facebook not recognizing the live link from Zoom at the moment. I do have another program I can use, but I'm not giving up on Zoom yet. I do like Zoom, so whatever. It's just the trials and tribulations of having a podcast and all that other jazz. As you have figured out, Barebow Project took a little bit of a break, and I needed a break. Had to kind of rearrange my my brain and some health stuff and take care. Took advantage of the opportunity with the elbow surgery and whatnot to just really re-energize, I think is the word, and evaluate, some things and just try to come back with a clear mind on what direction I wanted the Barebow Project to go in. The Barebow Project set out on a course to grow Barebow, and grow access to information for Barebow. And we've 100% have done that, but especially like growth of Barebow and doing the interviews and highlighting the tournaments and stuff like that. And not that stuff is going to stop, but I will say that it's not going to be quite the focal point that it's been in the past. And it's not because I don't love these people as much or because I care who wins tournaments or whatever. It's really just a matter of like the Barebow has done such an amazing job on its own of growing organically through social media, and the Barebow Project I'm sure has played some kind of role, just as the Push has and just some of these other podcasts that popped up. The one thing that, and I'm disappointed in myself, I think in a ways, is growing the coaching content, and making it a little bit more of an organized and not obtainable but digestible format. And instead of having hour and a half long conversations with 4 people, which they're still fun to watch and be involved in, I won't say that we're not going to do those. But I want to do the stuff that I want to do, and I want to bring Barebow from an educational standpoint up to where Olympic recurve and compound is. That's my goal for the next year or two. I'm not saying that we're not going to do the other stuff, but I'm not going to do as much of the media coverage. Might do some reaction videos or watch some like live tournaments and do that stuff. But I'm not going to stress out over that stuff because that was a big struggle of mine as the creator of the Barebow Project and as a host, is you feel that responsibility to have to, I don't want to say perform, but in some ways perform, but always be present in like all the best moments and stuff like that. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to enjoy the sport. I want to enjoy. I'm not gonna lie, like I want to enjoy coaching again. I want to coach again, except I don't I don't want to do it. I can't do like the full-time 7 day a week thing like I used to do with 20 or 30 people. Just remote stuff. I want to grow the Barebow Project Shooter School. And the access to content and coaching through the Patreon page. I want to do that. I want people who want help to join, have a place that they can join, have access to all of this information, and then continue to I have some other irons in the fire that I'm working on, and I'm hoping I'm hoping to build my own certification. I'm not hoping to. I am going to. I've kind of already started it, but I want to build a certification that coaches can basically make an addendum to the coaching certifications that they have so that they can go into coaching programs or coaching shooters and have a full understanding of everything barebow. And that's coming. That's a priority of mine. That and finishing my damn book, but that's a whole other topic. But I want to do content and podcasts that are catered to the listener. I don't want to just make up and fabricate ideas all the time. I want to take questions from social media, which I'm going to do tonight. Take video questions. I want people to send video. I would prefer video, but just audio is fine, or even just text messages, or not text messages, but Facebook inbox messages. But I want to take people's life experiences with Barebow and make them digestible. There's that word again, content for the podcast. So, and the reason being, because if you, the listener, are having a struggle or a question, somebody else has that same exact thing. And all we have to do is share the podcast and try to reach that person to help them. That's really the way to grow Barebow to an elite level. And this isn't just for America, obviously. This is every continent across the globe. I mean, as a whole, Barebow is a closer knit community on an international level. There's no question. And I want us to be able to use life lessons from, a shooter in Denmark to a shooter in Sweden to a shooter in America. And I want us to be able to take an experience or a struggle or whatever, make it into content that people can put in their memory bank of, oh yeah, well, I know so and so's experienced this. They talked about it in the Barrel Project. It was episode blah blah blah, and it was really good content. And I can share that with other shooters down the road because I know they talk about it. I also want to do a series that's going to sort of be a build-up series over starting Barebow from ground zero and make it a collection of sorts that you're talking about, you know, the very first start of teaching a new shooter, of what equipment to get, how to set it up, those finite details. A lot of people they're not going to want to listen to it unless it's something specific they're looking for. And I guess so this is where one of the major changes to the podcast is. Prior, recording podcast was set up in some ways to garnish views and um reaction of people. The lives were great, it's fun. You get just we have a lot of fun when we record in the group, excuse me, format. But I'm not worried about that anymore. I want to record collections that the new coach or the new parent or the new shooter can be like, okay, this is where, and everybody in Barebow says this is where you go to start your Barebow journey. Go listen to this episode on the Barebow project. It's and talk you through the whole thing. But this is where you all come in. And I touched upon a little bit ago. This is where like I want to know your barriers to entry of Barebow. I want to know the things that you wish you had known or been taught real early on in your journey. I want to know those things. I want you to reach out to us, specifically me, the Facebook page, Instagram. I don't care where you where you contact me from. I want to know the things that you want to see, either things that you wish you had known or things now that you wish could be covered so that we are hitting as or answering as many questions before those questions come up for the new shooters. Um, and I think there's some amazing companies out there across the board. There's people working really hard to grow their brands. And if I could support every business an entrepreneur within, which is I'm a huge fan of the entrepreneurial spirit. If I could support all the companies and all the organizations, I would. So I'm gonna keep promoting as many of those as I can. The difference is I'm doing it for the right reasons across the board, and like it's not a notoriety thing. There's organizations or there's businesses out there that really truly go out of their way to support the barebow and the competitive archery community. Like Archery is a prime example of that. I just want to support people for the sake of supporting them anymore. So, you're going to see less of sponsor driven content and just more of meaningful and educationally full content as I move forward with the podcasts. I don't want outside motivators. I don't want anything other than I want to do what I feel in my heart of hearts is the message that I want to get across to help people. That's it. That's the moving forward direction. I want to focus on being a shooter again. Um Gonna have a pretty decent journey to get back to being competitive again, but it is what it is. It's only gonna make me stronger in the end, so I'm good with it. Um and yeah, I probably focus more on shooting than on coaching, to be honest with you, but I still want to coach. Like I think that the cool thing about being a shooter coach, doing both, is being a shooter makes you very sharp as a coach. Um there's old sayings like, oh, well, those who can't coach shoot, those who can't shoot coach. That's BS. I guess there's in some instances there might be some truth to it, but it's it's impossible to do both of them 100%. So you have to lean one way or the other to get as close to that 100% as possible. Like 100% effort. So I want to focus more on shooting over the next few years. But I'm still going to do some coaching on the side and just like, it's got to be people who are driven. That's why I created the Barebow Project Shooter School, because that is sort of a self-guided tour into coaching. And obviously if anybody joins Patreon, I will go out of my way to meet them if they need help, do video reviews, whatever, just to make sure that they have the help they need. So with that being said, speaking of helping people, let's get into some online content that some stuff I was tagged in, some stuff I found. And let's just talk about it. So let's go with, here we go. This was one that I was tagged in. I have all these pages pulled up. Hold on a second. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Cancel that. All right. Oh, here we go. All right, so Ryan posted in the Barrel Project group, actually, I think it was. I don't know if it was Barrel Project group or if it was, no, it's Barebow group. He put tuning question. How do I bring the fletched to the middle? The fletched arrows were on the left, the bear shafts were on the right here in this picture on the left. Move center shot versus adjusting plunger tension. This is for a left-handed archer. Bear shafts are showing stiff, but the fletched are impacting slightly weak. Current center shot is in line with the string. PS23s, 500 spine, 30.5 inches, 230-degree points. 70-inch bow, 41 pounds of the fingers, 9 and 3/8 brace height. First of all, I'd probably go closer to 9.5. I've even gone to 9 3/4 brace height with a 70 and a 72-inch bow. But you know, that's going to be on a individual feel for each shooter. As my comment there, that's not a terrible bear shaft on a 23 diameter arrow. I'm guessing smidge move of the center shot maybe clean this up. Judging by the group, tension is spot on. What I mean by that, and if you go to the Barebow Project and look at the basic tuning seminar that Elton Wong and I did in Virginia, Harrisonburg, Virginia, not last year, 2 years ago, I think it was. You know, we talk about this in depth. I'm a quarter to 2/3 shaft width outside the string on center shot. If you look at tuning for tens or tuning for barebow, it's the same recommendation. The arrow is rarely, if ever, directly behind the string, which is probably for a left-handed shooter, if that target isn't transposed, that makes sense as to why the bear shaft is to the right for a left-handed shooter. It varies by setup. Point weight, arrow length, and spine should be the next trial if you can't get it to move. So in some cases, you can play with center shot to some extent, but you're gonna, or if you use it like right now, if this shooter added tension to the plunger, right? That's not going to necessarily make that arrow go out. It's just going to make the groups spread. It depends. Like if you're in the right wheelhouse for spine length and arrow weight, excuse me, and once you get your tension right, your groups will be real tight. Now you can get false tunes. It's really gonna kind of confuse things because you're gonna be like, oh, do I need to try a different plunger, or do you have to put the stiff spring in to get that to move over, and then your groups just go to hell in a handbasket. So you have to be able to identify, like, do I have the right setup? Do I truly have the right setup? Also, you know, make sure that you don't have a contact issue. So there's a possibility here that those bear shafts are correct. And the reason that those arrows, they're still grouping, but you're getting contact on those fletched arrows, which is actually what's kicking it left. So there's just so many variables that can happen. So what are you doing to check that? You know, maybe you get one of the foot powder sprays, spraying the arrow, checking for contact. You know, and there's multiple ways to get around this situation. The first thing that I'm doing typically, and others may have varying opinions, and that's fine. I'm not saying that my way is the only way by any means. But the first thing I'm doing here is I'm going to look at my center shot and I'm moving that center shot over. If you move the center shot over and that bear shaft does move with it, it is probably unlikely that your fletch shafts, because they're going to correct much quicker and fly just fine, it's probably a good chance that they're actually just going to get closer together. And you'll be good. I mean, that is an excellent bear shaft for barebow archery with a 23 diameter, with a fat diameter arrow. Like he does say in the comment, I would agree, but the picture didn't really capture how far left the bear shaft knock was relative to the point impact. They're entering the bail at near 30 degree. I don't see 30 degrees there at all. And honestly, I think you're making a mountain out of molecules because you're just they're a fat arrow hitting a softer-ish target with really heavy point weight, and I wouldn't be overly obsessed about that right there as it sits. If let's put it this way, those fletched arrows that are on the left, as long as you can move that to the right, you're shooting gold all day long. That's really good archery. And excuse me, with the bear shafts that tight as well, you have a really good tune. You're that's a good place to be. I would not be stressing over where that's at. I would play with the center shot a little bit, see if you can make it a little bit better. You only have so many clicks on the plunger out and in. So we're talking left hand, left hand shooter, vice versa. Sorry, right hand shooter out and in, left hand shooter out and in. You only have so many clicks before that group's going to go like this. Just remember that. So good luck, Ryan. Keep us posted on how well this tuning journey kind of pops out for you, and whatever else we can do to help, please let me know. I love PS23s. It's a great arrow. All right, let's look at another one here. All right, let's look at these. We got two more here. We'll start with Ray, and then we'll go with Burnaby. Ray says, I have a general question. I have a 31-inch draw length. I'm currently dropping poundage to 30, 32 pounds, still debating on poundage and getting long length limbs. So I'll have a 70-inch bow. What spine arrows would I need to be shooting before ordering anything? Well, Ray, best thing for you to do is to start by looking at excuse me, man, got a cough. Is for you to look at a arrow chart. To be honest, there's no guarantee that an arrow chart is going to be perfect. But just for poops and giggles, I'm going to stop sharing here and I'm going to pull up. And since we just had Black Eagle, and I'm pretty familiar with Black Eagle's arrow chart because they just have been very good to me over the years, even though I don't shoot them right now. Black Eagle. Oh, no, not Black Eagle, the movie. Black Eagle arrows. I'm dumb. Let me pull up their arrow chart quick and we can talk about it. Oh my goodness. No thanks. All right, here we go. Support safe arrow use. That's what I want. See, arrow spine selection. Spine chart. Beautiful. All right. Let me share my screen again. All right. So Black Eagle has an arrow chart. All arrows, like Easton has an actual website where you can plug in numbers and pull things up. They all have their own spec. Here's what I would do. I would go down to traditional bow sizing chart. Technically, that's what we are. And then I would go with what this says, but I would try to talk to a local shop or see if there's a way that you can buy a handful of arrows in that specific range. We used to be able to buy 1s, 2s, and 3s of arrow shafts from Lancaster. You might be able to call and be able to do that still. I'm not really sure. But if you are able to come up with a way to get at least 1 or 2 spines, it's a worthwhile endeavor to do, if it's just a couple of arrows. So we always used to advocate for it, just to it's become a little bit harder to do that. So you are a 70-inch bow. You were a 31-inch. I think you said a 31-inch draw. Let me just double check that real quick. Hold on. 31-inch draw length. That's what I am. 30 and a half, 31. Low poundage, 30, 32, 7-inch bow. Okay, perfect. So let's go back here. We're going to go to 31 inches. Now, this is actually arrow length, so you're going to go longer. So you're probably going to end up with a 32-inch arrow. And we're going to look at poundage. So your tip weight, let's say we go somewhere around 150, just to pick a number. And you were going to be somewhere between 30 to 32 pounds. Well, you're right on the bench here. So let's scroll over to a 32-inch arrow. That puts you comfortably within the 500 spine area with a 150 grain point, borderline 400 if you decide to go up in poundage. I'm not going to say that that's necessarily going to be perfectly accurate, but it sounds about right. I think you're pushing, if you end up cutting it shorter, and you don't go with a full length arrow, you can end up in that 600 range, but it's highly unlikely. With a big arrow like that, you're going to have to break that spine with some heavy point weight. It's when you get above 200 grains that you really start getting into that next spine up. So like, for example, here at 250 and 200 grains, you come over, you're at 32 inches, which is your full length arrow. I think the PS23s come in 32 inches. I'd have to double check the bare shaft length. But you're at a 400 spine. So that's how you're picking that out. I think you're going to be fine with a 500 or a 600 even. Typically, what we find is that if you are really focused on having a really well-tuned bow, you're going to go and do your research, try those different arrows, try those different, I'm a 500 spine, and I'm typically in the ballpark of 38 to 40 pounds at 30.5-inch draw, roughly. So that's about where you're going to be, Ray. That's on that arrow. Check the individual arrow companies and what they have to offer. Get breakable point weight so that you can change the point weight and just practice, with full length, full point weight, the whole gamut, and see which one tunes the best and just start from there. So, and our good man Burnaby posted a question, and I'm surprised that he posted this question a little bit. I'm looking for my marker. I was looking for my dry erase marker, but I don't see it. So we're gonna have to go with just a regular old Sharpie or something. Oh, wait, I do got one. Barnaby, I worked with Barnaby in a class, and this stuff was gone over, but it's all good but he posted bowhand question. So it puzzled me. Where is the pivot point and the pressure point on the grip? Do you have a symbiotic relationship with each other? Yes, they do. No pick related. You've seen my dog already, which is funny. Dude's got a funny sense of humor. So your pivot point is right there. Okay. Right in the middle of, let's call this the V right there. That's the V. Okay. It looks off in the video, but it really isn't. Your pressure point is right there. That's your pressure point. So we're going to go X up top, pivot, pressure, pivot. Oh, I think of friends. Pivot point, pressure point. The relationship between the two is that you set the pivot point first. So, and it's a common, let me rephrase that. I've also watched, I have a riser in here. I think I do. I don't. I've watched guys like John Dillinger do this with their bow grip after their hook is set, kind of getting comfortable. Nobody's going to tell John Dillinger that what you're doing doesn't work. So the relationship there is that if you do anything consistently and do it to the point where you do it so consistently that it works for you and that you shoot well with it, don't ever let somebody tell you don't do it that way. What I teach, especially as a coach, as somebody who's kind of done research and looked at the repeatability side of things, and how do I take somebody with zero experience and really give them a path to being as consistent as possible? I teach them, set your hook first, that back. You hold the bow with your hook. You set your grip, pivot point, pressure point. So that grip or that riser is essentially going to look something like that. So maybe that X is a little bit off, but like something like that. So maybe they should be over just a smidge. This side, if you, let me this marker back. This side of the lifeline. So I'm gonna trace my lifeline here. That side of the lifeline should not be on your grip ever. Okay. It's only that X and that X. Somewhere in there. So essentially what's going to happen is the grip is going to sit kind of like that. And when your hand is relaxed into the grip, essentially this part is the only part that is going to touch it, somewhere right here. Okay. So what that looks like is you pick up your bow, you put an arrow in, you set your hook, crawl, set it, set your hook, turn to the target, set your posture, put the pivot point in, pressure point down, relax the fingers. One of the most common things that you see shooters, and they stiffen up their hand for some reason. I don't know where that comes from. Must be a natural tendency to create rigidity in the hand, thinking that you're stabilizing somehow for aiming, or it's a buildup of tension before, maybe because of target panic, before letting the arrow go. This is not a relaxed hand. Just let the fingers fall. That's a relaxed hand. Thumb should be pointing in basically in the direction of the target, and you don't want any tension in these fingers at all. Nothing in the hand. You want to really focus on relaxing that, to be honest with you, and you can make that part of your shot process in full draw. So when you do, set the hook, set the grip, reposture, make sure that that grip feels correct. And then it's just raised to draw, back into your anchor. I bring index to the front of my chin, flat up right up into my anchor, and then finish that alignment. And it's good. Let string pull through, finish the shot, repeat. I've said this in my seminars. I've said this actually in my coaching class for S3D8 tonight. We make archery so difficult. Here's a couple of things for you to think about as a shooter. The equipment never, ever, ever shoots incorrectly. It shoots exactly, even when the tune's bad, shoots exactly how it's supposed to. The only thing that happens is that we screw up the shot. We're the ones that interject ourselves in the shot of the equipment, the process of the equipment shooting the arrow. What we need to do is we need to make ourselves invisible within the way that the equipment performs. We have to make sure the tune is correct or as close to as possible, and that we are doing things the exact same way every time so that the equipment can perform at its expectation. If anybody tells you a specific bow is going to make you shoot better, they're lying to you. Just want to reiterate that. If they're out there selling you on this thing's a dream, blah, 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 listen, and that's goes for Hoyt and for everybody else. CD, who are some of the big name uh Win-Win and all these other bows that are out on the market. Oh, mine's a Barebow riser, yours isn't a Barebow riser, blah 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 blah. If they're telling you they're selling you, none of that matters. Some might feel a little bit nicer to your style of shooting. That doesn't make it the best bow for everyone. It makes it the best bow for you because that's the way you like to shoot. That's the way you like it to feel. Your form and doing things like how you set your grip every time, how you set your hook every time, those are the things that are going to make you more consistent and the best version of yourself on the shooting line and in practice. If you can show up at a tournament and just simply be the best version of yourself as a shooter, that's going to produce a win, regardless of whether you get on the podium or not. It's going to teach you more about yourself. You're going to enjoy it more, and you're going to experience a lot less stress. There's going to be more topics on podcasts on stuff like that throughout this next few months up until probably July, I would think. Once outdoor nationals and the US Open rolls around, probably take another break, get into hunting season. Because I just finished hunting season here in Pennsylvania. Didn't kill anything yet. Still gonna hunt, but like I hunt. Again, it was the mental break of being away from the podcast was so needed. And it was needed because um, you know, I think that for a while, I left the podcast control too much of my own archery. And in that way, I lost control of my archery. I don't know. It's kind of a deep subject. So I will tell you, there was a lot of struggles with being injured, some health problems in and out of there, some personal things. And like I just couldn't keep up life at its highest level or as high as level as it could be, um, and perform in a sense as a podcast host and an archer and this coach and all this other jazz. And something had to give for a little while, and the podcast was it. That's all I could say. And there's people out there that's why it's also a reason why I wanted to do the Barebow Project Shooter School, because it's a thing it's always going to give back. So anyways, this is your newest episode. I'm sorry it's not like super explosive and exciting. You just listen to me ramble, but I just wanted to say to you all that those of you that support the podcast and support me and have reached out to me and asked how things were going, and especially my buddy Rob Yanni, really, I got him back into the sport, and now here he is working on getting me back into the sport in a sense. Shout out to him because he's been super supportive. But it was a journey to everything in life, and the journey with this podcast has definitely been more positive than negative. Some negative I brought on myself. A full circle, honest, transparent moment. I think there's some maturity level that comes along with things, and that includes being a little bit in the spotlight of other people. And I definitely have matured through that journey. And I hope that those of you who are out there that maybe experienced some of those moments in the past, maybe give me another chance at that. So, but there's a lot of people out there that I owe a significant amount of thank you to throughout this whole journey. John Demmer being number one, without a doubt. John Demmer is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in the world. We bust each other so much, but also like he's super supportive. We have don't tell him I said this. He has a huge heart when it comes to helping other people, and I've been a beneficiary of that, and I am super thankful for that. Grayson, same thing, even though Grayson's, lived his life doing his own thing. Grayson's always been there and been supportive. And another person who was instrumental in the Barebow project is Eric Yost. Eric and Tracy, but Eric was somebody who hopped on board immediately. Forever indebted to Yost Archery family. Amazing people. And I can't say enough positive words about those people. And when you see us advocate for supporting a business like Yost Archery, that's just one reason why. Their products are really good. And they're a small business. Support small businesses, you know what I mean? Support big business too, especially the ones that give back. But and then I would say a couple of the other, I mean, I can't mention everybody. Elton Wong, my friend, sort of my brother through a journey of struggle. Elton is somebody that I will rely on to talk to him from a coaching standpoint. I trust his opinion. I'll add on to that list Rob Koffold. Rob has been instrumental in me getting back into archery, becoming the coach that I became, becoming the shooter that I became, being supportive of the podcast and everything Barebow. And I'm not a Barebow OG from, the beginning of the classic. I was um an implant of sorts, and I have forever admitted that, but I've also forever tried to get back to the sport because it's given me so much. So hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I know it's different. Sorry, you might see more of these now moving forward. But if you have topics, things you think you would like to talk about, send them my way. I'll do my best to entertain everybody with good information. All right. Anyway, deuces. I'm out. See you guys.